Hello there everybody and welcome to a new video for Age of Wonders 4. In this one I will guide you through the tomes of the Nature Affinity. I'm going to go over the contents of these books, going to talk about what I think you can do with these, where they synergize well, and what you can expect when picking these. So there's timestamps down below. If you're looking for a specific tome, you'll find it there. Let's get started with the Tome of Roots. The Tome of Roots is really cool. It has access to poison for your melee and ranged units. It also gives you the ability to put a nice dot on your enemy. It also gives you access to a cheap and powerful healing spell. It's nothing to sneeze at, nothing too powerful of course, but it stays useful for the early and mid game. But most importantly, we gain access to really interesting summons and units. So the Entwined Thrall is your standard skirmisher unit with a nice poison attack, which is always nice to have that. It's even more damage. And the Vine Prison summons 5 living vines that do nothing except for trying to immobilize the enemy and attracting enemy fire. This is one hell of a spell to just make the enemy do dumb things. It does not work as well against humans, of course, but the AI really tends to botch up their movements a lot due to this. So it gets topped off with the building of the herbalist. Well, it's a special province improvement, not a building, sorry. It will give you extra food and mana for forests and swamps. Since forests are a trademark thing for this entire affinity, you can gain a lot out of this book. Now, next point on the list is the Tome of Beasts. It is a wonderful tome if you want to work with animal units and summons. So you gain the ability to summon animals, you gain the ability to make your folks of your own race work better with animals. Buffing damage and crit hit chance is really nice. You also gain the ability to buff up all your animals and cavalry units with nice bonuses here. And we also get the ability to distract an enemy and sunder his defenses. Flanking is a recurring theme on this faction, so it really pays off to pay close attention to these things. I like this little debuff here as well. We gain also access to the Wild Speaker. This guy can summon a animal unit and power up animal units. That's a very, very low tier supporter, but goes extremely well with what we got here. What's very important to point out is the Wildlife Sanctuary. It's a special province which allows you to recruit animal units in the city, so don't forget to build one. It also provides you with extra draft for adjacent forests. And since we're already talking about forests, we're going to head on over to the Tome of Glades, but there's one more thing, the Pack Leader trait. The Pack Leader trait is emphasizing the flanking identity of your magic faction even more, because here the flanker trait will improve the damage while flanking. This is for cavalry and animal units, so you can apply that to a lot of your troops. Just keep in mind that this only applies to the people inside the army of the hero, not adjacent to the hero's army. So, Tome of Glades. This is where we get our forests from. Create Forest just does what the name implies, and Leaf Skin allows you to be stealthy in the forest and move faster in the forest. So this creates a high synergy with the foregoing tomes, because they both work really well with forests. On top of that, we gain access to the Glade Runner, a debuffing archer unit, which gives you sundering of defenses, evasion debuffing, good stuff, and they also come with true sight, so they can uncover camouflaged units. You sadly don't see it here. So this is one really, really nice ranged tier 3 unit that you gain access to, and to top it off, we have access to nice healing things. Aspect of the Root gives your shields and pole arms an ability to heal themselves and go into defense mode. This is especially powerful for the pole arms, which tend to be in the fire of the enemy quite a lot and get battered up quite easily, so they can heal themselves. And the Entwined Protector, a shield unit which comes with a point-blank AoE heal. Always nice to have that. His melee strikes also can poison, so you get a lot of bang for your buck from that spell as well. So Forest Warden will give your units bonus when fighting in a forest. damage, defense, everything you might want to have. And the Sacred Meadow is giving you some nice bonuses when you have conduits available. This is not always the case, but if it is the case, you can grind out a nice extra amount of city stability with that. Altogether, the Tome of Glades is for me the forest tome where I can get my forests and some heals from. The Tome of Fertility, though, is more aimed towards your food income and features some really interesting units and a pretty interesting spell as well. So let's get started with the food income stuff. The Temple of Fertility is a city structure which gives you food and draft per population, so the bigger the city, the bigger the impact. And Restore the Land gives you the ability to create grasslands. Grasslands also synergize quite well with the Nature Tome. I'm going to show you how later. The Bountiful Fields is a special province that you can build that synergizes with adjacent farms, cranking out even more food and draft, which you can turn into armies. Not too bad either. So we also gain access to the Blossom of Life spell. 2 hex radius, 3 regen is amazing. This is a lot. It's not a lot of regen, but it's a really big radius, which you can cover with that spell. You also gain access to the Revitalize skill, which is basically a smaller version of what we got there, but it is also a negative status effect purger. Really cool stuff for your heroes. You can also summon a nymph, which has the same skill here available as well, but on top of that, she has Seduce, which is an insane skill. High range, 6 grids, takes up all her actions, but it attempts to mind control the enemy for 3 turns, and if not, they're just distracted and susceptible to flanking attacks. This is one hell of a spell, and altogether, I really like the nymphs because they got a nice ability to buff up and debuff and strip debuffs from your units, and taking control of enemy units is always massive. Animate Flora, well, it gives you the ability to transform obstacles into creatures. It's a really nice thing because these guys are quite annoying. They are hard to kill, they can poison quite well, and you can't charge them either. So really good, really cool units, and super cheap disposable as well. Tier 3 Tome of Cycles. This one is major access to decay, and also some really interesting spells that are aimed towards damage and healing at the same time. You gain access to Diffuse Health, which will deal some damage to one unit. I mean, 30 damage isn't a low number. It also will heal your friendly units in the vicinity. It's a random heal, but it is altogether a nice little mini nuke. Parting Gifts is a healing spell whenever one of your friendly units die. Well, this can be really annoying to deal with, especially when you're working with swarmer tactics, where you have a lot of tier 1 units that will just keep healing their environments. Really powerful with lots of small units. Not so impressive if you are relying on strong singular units that are supposed to not die. Projectiles of Decay, well, it is access to some extra damage, and it is access to decaying, which will deny the enemy healing. This is massive for this faction because you are a powerhouse of healing, and denying the enemy the ability to heal themselves is outright annoying because that amplifies your own advantage even more. Also worth mentioning, it gives this to so many different troop types. It's supporters, battle mages, and ranged units. I really like that spell. Really powerful. We gained the Cycle of Seasons as a defensive spell, which will crank out one different effect each turn while the enemy is fighting in your city. Really powerful when the fight goes longer. Really good for siege situations and such. And as a last number here, we gain access to the Druid of the Cycle. A supporter, which has a normal ranged attack, can instantly try to kill units, otherwise he'll inflict weakened. And the most interesting part about this guy is whenever he has managed to kill a unit, he can use Restart the Cycle. This skill is either healing one unit massively or brings them back from the dead. this is interesting because if you manage to get last hits on this guy, he can be quite a lifesaver for parts of your army. But beyond that, they're a little bit hard to pull off, but the payoff is huge. I'm a little bit torn with these guys, but I think if you are able to pull it off with the restart the cycle, it can be super annoying to deal with. Tier 3 Tome of Vigor is the animal and summoning tome, period. You know, you get so much goodness here. First off, summon Greater Animal, which gives us access to tier 3 summons, and Totem of the Wild, that we can just plot down on the battlefield and will crank out 5 tier 1 summons for us. 5, just with one spell. This is amazing. And they're all animals, so they are really synergistic with the other spells that we got in our roster before. But we are not stopping here. We gain a enhancer for animal and cavalry units, 50% more damage, 50% more or 5 points defense, and berserking. Okay, we lose control over you, my friend, but you will go and hit them hard. Empowered Beasts is a super nice unit enchantment for animals. More damage, more HP, ability to destroy structures, super good stuff. I really like that. And last but not least, super growth, more HP, more retaliations. It's just, you know, these two go really, really well together. The animal handler perk here is also worth mentioning because it gives your animal and cavalry units mind control immunity and magical resistance. This is again a super powerful trait to have, which will bolster up your armies even more. So, tier 4 Nature's Wrath Tome. This one gives you access to aggressive terraforming. Destructive regrowth will transform the province into a forest and deal damage to units in there. It's really cool if you want to mess with a tall player's economy. And Awaken the Forest is then again removing a forest and transforming it into an army. I like that one as well. I think these two go really, really nicely synergistic with each other. They also have interesting spells here. We got Awaken Instincts, which is giving your units the ability to just act another time in that turn, and they go berserk. So this is basically a go into auto battle for 2 turns button. Just keep in mind that berserking units can also attack each other, but you know, I consider it an interesting spell. I don't know how much I'd be using it realistically. Devolve, though, is way more of a foolproof thing. It tries to transform an enemy into a tier 1 animal unit or stuns him instead. This is amazing because either you get rid of the problem entirely or you get 1 round of free shots on it. I like that one. What's not to like about that? We also have access to Nature's Avenger, which is another super good support skill, which makes us, yeah, spread a lot of power to our units. This is 2 hex wide and 50% more damage. This is one support skill worth taking. We also have the Horned God there. This is your tier 5 summon out of the nature roster. He has a strong ranged attack which will heal adjacent units. That's pretty unique. He also has access to a AoE attack that spawns living vines. That's amazing. I love this one. Damage and distraction. And he also has the ability to cast that floral stinger spell that we had in the Tome of Fertility. So, super massive unit. Super massive unit. Can do a lot of shenanigans and almost no downsides to it. The tier 4 Tome of Paradise is way less militaristic. It's all about increasing income and making your area really, really worth living in. So there is exactly well, alright, there's a lot of things that also go into the defensive traits, but this is the only thing that you will use offensively in that tome, and that's the Exhilarating Pollen. It will give your units plus morale, and it does spread flanking on the enemy. It's so disgusting because this is a button you can push to amplify the damage quite a lot, especially if your species is innately good at flanking. There's a lot of goodness here that we already saw that powers up flanking, making this spell insane because it's all enemy units. We also have a major race transformation here. Gaia's Chosen is a defensive transformation. Keep in mind that you can only have one of these. But 20 HP, status resistance, and charge resistance is one hell of a package to even make the measliest of your tier 1 units quite tanky. So, income-wise, we have enhancers for for grasslands. So this is making your city spread grasslands and give you extra income from grasslands. Really good stuff. We have a healing spell here on Nature's Bounty, which will make your units go regenerate a lot for the upcoming turns. Really good if one of your armies has been battered up. And the Blessing of Paradise is, if you want to play tall, amazing. Plus 40 city stability, and the positive effects from positive stability get doubled. Really, really nice. And last but not least, the Fortress of Vines gives you the ability to fortify your city better, but most importantly, it will spawn a living vine each turn next to an enemy. That's just outright amazing, because this is again just messing up the AI's actions so much. We gain access to Inspiring Icon, which is a flat out plus 20 morale bonus. I think this is one of the least interesting support skills. The Garden of Bliss, though, this is one hell of a thing. Most importantly, it starts to transform your food income into mana. Since we are racking up food income like crazy from various sources all over the board with nature, this is finally the point where you can transform it into fighting power. I love this one. I love it a lot. Okay, tier 5 time. The Goddess of Nature thing, well, it comes with only a low amount of spells, but each one of them is rocking quite hard. Forest Awareness gives you the ability to just see everything which is happening in the forests. That is really, really annoying to deal with because, this makes it really hard for the enemy to move without you noticing. But it is one of the smallest spells. Force of Nature is one sick unit enchantment, extra crit hit chance, blight damage on base attacks, and it covers a lot of your roster if you utilize the previous tomes a lot. At mass rejuvenation, well, all your units get massively healed and dead animals and plants come back to life. This is one hell of a spell to use when you want to just have another go at the enemy. It is really, really a lot harder to kill your guys with that, and it synergizes super well with the aforegoing spells there. Altogether, though, I felt like the tier 5 nature tome was less amazing than other tier 5 tomes. Those spells are all cool and all, but forest awareness is not always as amazing as it sounds, and these two spells, well, force of nature only kicks in well if you are going the animal plant cavalry route. The only thing left is mass rejuvenation, which is outright amazing. Okay, so that's the Nature Affinity tomes. I think they are bonkers and really, really powerful. I personally also think that they are really easy to understand, and it's a super good entry point if you want to really, really swarm down the enemy with lots of critters and all the goodness in between. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Feel free to leave me your comments down below. Feel free to point out synergies that I have missed here. I'm always eager to hear what you guys know that I haven't spotted there. And of course, consider a thumbs up or a subscription. These are wildly appreciated. If you want to see more Age of Wonders content, I got an entire playlist for that. Down there is the playlist link. It's all info videos just like this one. And at the end, of course, there's a big thanks to the supporters of this channel. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. You're enabling me to make all this and more. And if you want to find out what I'm talking about, there's Patreon, PayPal, and Buy Me a Coffee as ways and means to support this little channel. If you don't want to click these links, I really don't mind either. I thank you instead for watching this video until the bitter end. I am truly grateful for that. This is an interesting way of supporting me as well, because it doesn't cost you any money and it does help me too. So have a wonderful day and see you on the next one.